So, over these courses, Shamballa, self-transformation, personal transformation courses. You know, we've talked a lot about self-empowerment, mastery of self, becoming more aware of the levels of ourself. And so, one of the main things that I wanted to talk about now is mastery of light, and how mastery of light and personal transformation are an ascension, really go hand in hand. It's the process of becoming self-aware to the levels of our own being, becoming aware when the ego speaks, or say a certain level of our being that's still, say, attached to fear, or produces the fear, or the judgment, or the separation between, say, your own perceptual view of yourself and another person, or a person within creation, or a certain situation. So, as far as you could say mastery of light, we are a spectrum of light between our chakras, you know, and there's different people that, of course, that, you know, regarding the different chakras have different radiations of light and so on, but we're just not, say, one level of light. We encompass a spectrum of light all the way through the 12 chakras. Some people could also refer this to, say, as the Yod spectrum, or your own God essence, of the full spectrum of your combined essence, which is really the radiation of a full spectrum of different, say, shades of light. So, as we are integrating more of our own mastery and self-awareness, we're actually integrating more of our, say, even expanded light in just another level of our being. We've mastered one level of our being, and we're moving into another level of our being. And as we do that, we continue to expand our connection to, say, one another, oneness, the earth, the universe, and so on. It's through the willingness of each one of us individually that allows our heart to expand, to be able to go out and feel and know ourselves on an expanded level. It's through that process of release of one way of perceiving reality and moving into the next that we are able to experience ourselves on an expanded level. And one of the things that I always say is, in order to know the true workings of the universe, is to know yourself just to an expanded degree, because it's through our heart that we get to know the true workings of the universe and who we are in relation to the universe. The levels of our being that see itself separate from the universe, of course, really don't have the capabilities to know the true workings of the universe, because it sees itself separate from it. Just as when we fear something, we will never have the capability of truly understanding something if we fear it. So just like we let go of the fear within our own self, we are moving past those barriers of the unknowingness into the knowingness. We're moving through that process. So one of the main things is to become more aware of your own self-denial, of being connected to the other elements, the other energies of the universe, what exists within the universe and the levels that exist here. So, for a lot of people, when you say mastery of light, most people will only perceive that as one shade of light, like maybe white light. But when I'm saying mastery of light, I mean the full spectrum of light, which includes the darkness, includes the other shades of the rainbow, The darkness is really only a shade of light. It's within the darkness still, even it might be very, very weak light, but there's still light within the darkness. And it's when we truly encompass the shades of our own light, including the darkness of within our own self, that we truly become the encompassed master of our own light. All the shades, either our mental mind or some other levels that want to live in denial of and or shield or protect ourselves from, say, a level of darkness or whatever, but it's actually encompassing ourselves and those levels of our being that actually allows us to become one in peace with these levels of other shades of energy, of light, and so on. It's to love those levels of existence just like we love ourselves without conditions. It's through that process that the separation between these levels of light are moved beyond. It's just like releasing and going from, say, the third level of our being chakra into the fourth. It's just like saying mastery of the fourth level of our own personal ascension. Integrating another level of our own being and knowingness, basically, is going from here to here. In order to do that, that means we've truly encompassed these levels of consciousness that, of course, are attached and produce all the fear and judgment within ourselves. These levels of our being are also attached to the illusion and also darkness in many different ways. And so, again, really the more we become aware and release the fear, the more that we become aware of what actually really does exist. What truly is third dimension? What is third dimension reality? If we really look at this and who we are on an internal level, if we looked at the third dimension, would not the third dimension be, say, unknowingness? Unknowingness of who we really are on an internal level. By releasing the illusion of unknowingness of who we are on an internal level, we're actually mastering the third dimension at the same time. Because the 3D reality is reflection of what we are holding on to within. In order to become one with 3D reality, we basically encompass levels of ourself, which is again reflected with the energies of the 3D reality. So mastery of light of our own self, we're simultaneously mastering 3D reality and the energies that exist within the 3D reality. And just like with our own chakras and our own personal levels of self, when we truly master and or encompass and love our ego without conditions and just truly get to know our ego and where it's speaking, what it produces, that level of our being that produces these, say, fear, judgment. And we start to observe the ego more and more, we're able to move then past the ego, becomes less prominent to the soul. The soul then starts integrating more of the I am presence, and the I am presence becomes then prominent, and then so on. So, but in order for one level of our being to become, say, less prominent, like the ego becoming less prominent, means that we need to start speaking more from the soul level, I am presence level. We need to live from that level of our being. By doing that, we're actually integrating more of the light and knowledge from our I am presence into the physical. We're actually living it. We're being it. We're not just like trying to do it a few hours in meditation or say a few hours a week to make up for time. The ego becomes less prominent. Therefore, we're living in the light and integration of the knowledge that is beyond this one level of our being. Just like a pyramid or a building and so on, It's the ego, and this physical body is just a part of the structure. It is part of who we are that extends out to this dimensional reality. So when we are truly embracing this level of who we are in physical form, and we're at one in peace within ourselves and with this dimensional reality, we're integrating ourselves here, and we're able to then integrate the other parts of the building, or the other parts, the higher levels of our own pyramid, levels of being, into the physical. It's clearing the space, clearing the vessel for all to flow in, just like, it's said in previous days of the workshop. And so, with this current time that we're living on Earth, everyone on Earth is being faced with their own levels of what we're holding on to. What is coming to the surface is basically for us to acknowledge and learn and move beyond. The light is flowing strongly now, not only through us individually, but on the Earth and within the universe. And when that energy and that light, source light, love, whatever you wish to call it, is grounded, it brings out to the surface everything, the lower frequency energies, the patterns, programs, everything, brings it to the surface for it to be released and cleared, which then allows our expanded light and knowledge to flow in. So, in the coming weeks, months, and years, is just to know that we are all going through a process of transformation and change, and you could say accelerated change, because as more energy is anchored, it's going to bring up those denser energies within ourselves and also within the collective, so that we collectively will move beyond the constraints and the lower patterns and systems and programs. It's to be at peace with the change, be at one with the change, just as in order to be the true master of your own light, shades of light, to be the master of darkness, is to see yourself as the light that basically created all the darkness. To be the light that created all separation and all duality. To be it. To clear the space for it to exist and flow. To be at one in peace with it. And so that's the main thing that I wanted to really convey to you all here, and then to everyone. And the reason why I wanted to videotape this specific talk is because it's very, very relevant to every single person, on the earth right now. Even though, most people won't even really connect in or allow themselves to come and sit in an atmosphere like this, where we're actually consciously going through the process of release, consciously going through a period of accelerated release and integration. That's what these courses are all about, is assisting people in mastery of their own self, releasing and integration more of your own love. So we can call this process of transformation many different things. Of course, we can call it ascension, we can call it personal transformation, self-transformation, levels of integration of expanded intelligence, enlightenment, but there's just not one level. There's a continuous amount of process that continues. It's not like a destination, it's the process that it takes to get there, which is the ride. That's what we're here to experience. And so the more we're one in peace with our current state of being, who we are today, not necessarily wishing that and judging ourselves, saying we're not there yet, or we're somewhere else, or wishing we're somewhere else, is that we are the master today. If we continue to tell ourselves that we're not the master, we're even in denial that we are a master of our own self, again, that day will never come, because it's always going to be put off to something else that we have not necessarily accomplished. But every single one of us is already a master of light. It's just a matter of the degree of mastery and light that we have integrated into this physical embodiment. We've all maybe done this and through many different lifetimes before. And so some of us, maybe this process of integration and release becomes more naturally to some of us. Some of us are still living in so much denial that to allow this process to take place, it, because of what we're holding on to in this third dimension, is so ingrained within us. So going forward, like with everyone on earth and with our own personal transformation, it's not that you can just go up to somebody and get them to believe to go through this process. Every single person has to have the willingness to integrate and release. Someone has to have the willingness to release the programs, the beliefs, and the structures they're holding on to in order to move beyond them. And there's nothing you can say to anyone to really assist in that process other than just providing different choices. You provide the choices just like we provide ourselves choices every single day. We're given the choice to choose between fear and love on a continuous basis in our life. And we also have the choice to integrate and have the willingness to move past and integrate and be the true master and say, flow of our own God essence, our own eternal essence, or however in the world everyone wishes to view it. So, does anyone of you have any questions or comments about that little?
I am the light that created you. You say to the darkness. Can you expand on that?
When I say I am the light, I know and I integrate the light that created all darkness, is to see that everything spans out from one source. It's not just like there's an aspect of source that's darkness. Is that an aspect or a certain dimensional level of existence from there expands out darkness. And so as actually taking yourself up to be the light that created all darkness, it's not that you are the darkness creating more darkness. You are the light that created all duality. And so it's actually integrating that knowledge of yourself at that level. And once that is integrated, you are able to see that you are, there's many different frequencies of darkness. There's many different levels of beings that are live and wish to choose to live in the darkness or whatever. The more that we integrate our own knowledge and light that created all duality, the more that we are saying we have mastered this dimensional reality. In order to truly master the light that exists within this reality, which means that you are the master of it is not the master of you. Same as fear. For the people that give the power to fear and continually push it away or in denial that they have fear, that means the fear is mastering them. They are not mastering fear. When we mastered something, we move beyond it. That's the same thing as mastering the sexual energy. So,
if the light is the spectrum with everything, including the dark, then it is part of you.
That's right. It's another expanded expression of who we are on another level. It's an extension of, just like the example of this. Once you become the encompassed light of your extended self, you have then the choice to exist in any level of that spectrum. So once you've integrated your own level of being that is beyond all those levels of duality, and you've mastered those levels, means that you've moved into that space of encompassing, energy. You can then exist in any of those levels. You can essentially integrate yourself in an expanded way with expanded energy of who you are, and in another level of that scale.
Okay, so like moving down the scales to darkness.
Yeah, it's just like frequencies. Everything is a different frequency of energy. It's just like the chakras. Each have a different frequency of energy, like with the tones. Everything is vibration. So, all right.